Hi, Dinesh. I'm Dan O'Keefe from Binghamton University in New York. My question pertains to something that you mentioned in your speech, and that's the Southern strategy. The Southern strategy has been debunked on almost every single one of its levels, but it still is a talking point used by the left to try to prove that the Republican Party is inherently racist. Do you blame this on the ignorance of the left, or is it more so a purposeful omission of accurate history?
Well, the question is the Southern strategy continues to be a kind of mantra, and even if you refute it intellectually, it still sings on. But I think that the left cannot afford to have this subject legitimately debated. So take this guy I mentioned a couple times, Kevin Cruz at Princeton. Yeah, he goes under his desk and writes these Twitter blasts at me, 10 of them, again, 10 bogus examples intended to refute the thesis. So finally I said, look, instead of this kind of Twitter squabbling, which actually is too extensive for the outside person to follow, why don't you and I have a debate, and let's do it on your home campus, where you have the home turf advantage in front of your students, whom you've actually been, you may say, indoctrinating for years. They'll be on your side, at least to start. Probably not at the end, but to start. And this guy's like, oh, no, I can't do that. Why? Not just because he's afraid he'll be crushed. I mean, I do think he's got that natural fear. Professors have this natural fear when they confront other people who know what they're talking about. Not necessarily in the classroom where they reign supreme. So he won't debate. Why won't he debate? Because even to concede there's an argument is ultimately to force people to listen to both sides. He wants people to just take it on faith that he's right. And he gives a few dubious examples, and all his progressive, in fact, he's got a little claque of progressive historians. And they yell and cheer and robotic applause every time he does this. Why? This is how they hope to bludgeon you into agreement. Everybody knows there was a Southern, everybody doesn't know. Kevin Phillips, the supposed architect of the Southern strategy, basically says, Nixon had a Sun Belt strategy. He was trying to win the Sun Belt stretching from Florida to California. He wanted the peripheral or upper South. In other words, he wanted the non-racist South. And he wanted to get them by an appeal to free markets and capitalism and patriotism. And remember, the South only came over to the Republican Party under Reagan, and then later in the 90s under Gingrich. And what was Reagan's agenda? Patriotism, anti-communism, free markets, family values, pro-life. It wasn't a racial agenda. That's the reason that the left tries to peg it all on Nixon, because they can't get Reagan. So all this slimy, sneaky, underhanded stuff is going on. And Trump is all over fake news. But no one is really onto fake scholarship yet. And this is why a lot of my career is focused on unmasking these frauds and challenging them to public debate. But they won't do it because they cannot stand up to the light of scrutiny. So the bottom line of it is do what you can to push the message out. Don't be afraid of it. At the end of the day, truth is a deadly weapon. I mean, Winston Churchill once said about reality that you can deny it, you can evade it, you can scorn it, you can ridicule it, you can dodge it, but at the end of the day, there it is. And the same can be said of truth.
Thank you.